Athens, 469 BC, a city of marble and dust, of gods and quarrels, of democracy barely one generation old. Into this world, into the smoke of the agora, the hammering of stone, the arguments of free men, a child was born. His father was Sophroniskos, a stonemason, his mother Phaenarete, a midwife, hands that shaped stone, hands that brought life into the world. The boy Socrates grew up watching his father carve truth from stone that a shapeless block contains within it, something waiting to be revealed. He was not beautiful by Athenian standards, snub-nosed, wide-eyed, thick-lipped, but those who met his gaze rarely forgot it. Athens in those years was the center of the world. The Persian Wars were over. The golden age of Pericles had begun. Everything seemed possible. The city rang with voices. Sophists charged gold to teach the art of winning arguments. The young man from the stonemason's workshop listened and doubted. What is knowledge? What is justice? What makes a life worth living? The questions came to him like the stars, countless, silent, undeniable. He never wrote a single word. Everything we know of him came through the eyes and hands of others, and yet he changed the world. Before he was a philosopher, he was a soldier. 3 times Socrates went to war, bearing the bronze shield and the heavy spear of an Athenian hoplite. At the siege of Potidæa, in the dead of winter, men shivered in their armor. Socrates stood barefoot in the snow for an entire night, not suffering, but thinking. He was brave beyond normal measure, not from aggression, but from indifference to fear itself. He had simply decided, death is not the worst thing that can happen to a man. At Delium, when the Athenian army broke and fled, Socrates walked calmly, facing the enemy, covering the retreat of others. Alcibiades witnessed it. He never forgot. He came home from war the same way he had left, asking questions. What is courage? Is it simply not running? Or is it knowing what is truly worth fearing? He married Xanthippe. History called her a shrew. He called her his greatest teacher, for if he could remain calm with her, he could remain calm with anyone. He abandoned his father's trade. He took no money for teaching. He owned almost nothing. He walked the streets of Athens barefoot, in the same worn cloak, summer and winter. His method was simple and devastating. He would ask you what you knew, and then, with gentle questions, show you that you did not know it at all. Everything changed when his friend Chaerephon went to the oracle at Delphi and asked, "Is anyone wiser than Socrates?" Socrates was troubled. He knew he was not wise. So he went to find someone wiser than himself to prove the God. First he went to the politicians. They spoke with great confidence about justice and governance. But their confidence had no foundation. They did not know what they claimed to know. Then the poets. They spoke beautifully, but they could not explain their own verses. Their wisdom was inspiration, not knowledge. They did not understand what they created. The craftsmen knew their trade, truly knew it. But that knowledge made them believe they knew other things too. Justice, virtue, truth, and there they were lost. And then he understood. He, Socrates, knew one thing these men did not. He knew that he did not know. That small knowledge, the knowledge of ignorance, was the beginning of wisdom. His method, which we now call the Socratic method, was a dialogue of questions, not lectures, not answers, only questions, carefully chosen, relentlessly pursued, until the truth revealed itself in the contradiction. What is justice? He would ask. And when he answered, he would ask, but is that always true? What about this case? And the world he thought you understood would begin to tremble. He spoke of a dying, an inner voice that warned him when he was about to do wrong. Not a god, not a demon, something between a conscience with a voice. He trusted Among his followers was the brilliant, dangerous, beautiful Alcibiades, who loved Socrates and could not become him, who wanted wisdom but wanted power more. Athens was changing. The Peloponnesian War had broken the city's confidence. Plague had taken a third of the population. Democracy was becoming something fearful and volatile. He had made powerful enemies. Every man whose ignorance he had exposed became a man who wished him gone. The city was filling with resentment it had not yet named. In 423 BC, the comedian Aristophanes staged The Clouds, mocking Socrates as a fraud and a corrupter of youth. The crowds laughed, the damage was done. In 404 BC, Athens fell to Sparta. The 30 tyrants seized power. They ordered Socrates to arrest an innocent man. He refused quietly, without drama. He simply went home. Democracy was restored. But a traumatized city needed someone to blame. Socrates was 70 years old. His time was running out. In 399 BC, 3 men brought formal charges: impiety toward the gods, corrupting the youth of Athens. The penalty they sought: death. Socrates was not afraid. He had spent 70 years preparing for this moment, not the trial, but the question behind it. When the city orders you to betray your conscience, what do? The trial of Socrates. 500 Athenian citizens as jury. He who had never paid for his defense stood before the city he had served his entire life. He did not beg. He did not weep. He did not bring his wife and children to soften the jury's hearts, though others did. He spoke the truth as he understood it, and he let the jury decide. The unexamined life is not worth living. He said it to 500 men who wanted him dead. He did not lower his voice. The jury voted 280 to 220, guilty. When asked to propose his own punishment, Socrates suggested with complete seriousness that Athens reward him with free meals for life, as they did Olympic champions. Death. The jury chose death. The court that condemned him wept more, they say, than the man they condemned. He waited 30 days in prison. Athenian law forbade execution while a sacred ship was at sea. He spent the time writing poetry and playing a lyre for the first time in his life because a dream had told him to. His friend Crito came at night with a plan. Escape was arranged. A ship was waiting. Friends in other cities would shelter him. He had only to walk out. He refused. He had spent his entire life arguing that one must never do injustice, even in return for injustice done to you. To flee now would be to betray not Athens, but himself. The last morning came. He bathed, so that the women would not have to wash his body after death. He spoke with his friends about the soul, about what comes after, about why death need not be feared. They wept. He did not. The executioner brought the hemlock. He apologized to Socrates. He said it was the finest death he had ever attended. He wept. He drank the hemlock as if it were wine at a celebration. He walked around the cell until his legs grew heavy. He lay down. He pulled the cloak over his face, then removed it one last time to speak. "Crito," he said, "we owe a rooster to Asclepius. See that it is paid, the god of healing." He considered death a cure, a healing from the illness of mortal life. These were his last words. Plato was not in the prison that day. He was ill. When he heard that Socrates was dead, he went home and began to write. He would spend the next 50 years giving voice to the man who never wrote a word. The ideas of this barefoot Athenian spread across 2,500 years, translated into every language, taught in every university on earth. He who owned nothing became the foundation of everything. Today, in every law school, every ethics class, every philosophy seminar, his method lives. Every time someone says, "But what do you actually mean by that?" Socrates is in the room. Athens eventually built him a statue. The men who condemned him were forgotten within a generation. The man they killed is still alive, still asking his questions, still waiting for your answer. His one question, the question that cost him his life, was not about the gods or the state. It was simpler, more personal, more dangerous. Are you living well? Have you examined your life? He was 70 years old when they killed him. He had walked the same streets for 7 decades, barefoot, asking the same questions. He never left Athens. He never stopped. He died in the city he loved, for the city he loved as himself. I know that I know nothing, and from that nothing, everything. Socrates, 469, 399 BC. He wrote nothing. He changed everything.